And I was asking you earlier to go on our Twitter handle to be a part of the poll we're running. What are your thoughts about the lockdown? Well, the votes, the poll is already ongoing. We have about 22 hours left on it. But of course, we don't have 22 hours left here on the show. So if you want us to get your thoughts quickly as possible, you can get on that platform and take a look at it. We give you some of the reasons that President Akufo-Addo gives for lifting the lockdown, and then we ask you whether or not you agree with the decision to ease the restrictions. All right, so once you see me wearing a mask, then you know that I'm talking to somebody in the studio. Was the decision motivated by science, by the economics, or even by politics? We've engaged in the thoughts of some of you, some scientists, some economists, and political analysts on this and the implications going forward. Now, as you already know, President Akufo-Addo has been meeting with members of the Ghana Medical Association on the way forward. Presidential correspondent Elton Bobe monitored that meeting, and he joins me in the studio with more. Elton, you're welcome to the show. I wanted to start my conversation with you with a question that I got concerning the Ghana Medical Association. Okay, I got it here. It's from Geoffrey. Geoffrey is texting from Takrady. He says, did the GMA agree to the lifting of the ban? A lot of people enter the country illegally than those who were arrested by the security personnel. GMA.
So I can answer this in a way. The meeting was held in two parts. The first one was the introductory part where the media was allowed to participate. Right. The second one was a closed-door session. Details of that I don't have yet, even though I'm told that the GMA has some concerns with their decision to unlock some of the areas, Greater Kumasi, Greater Accra, and Kaswa. But the GMA president, Dr. Frank Ankobia, told the media after the meeting that once the president has spoken, they have no option than to back it. So they will support the president directive going forward now to ensure that we are out of this this pandemic as soon as possible. President Akufo-Addo, and before the media was asked to walk out, justified the decision to lift the ban in Accra, Kumasi, and Kaswa. Now, for him, before arriving at that particular decision, he was saddled with four main issues. The economic aspects of the lockdown, the social aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it, and as a president, he needed to balance the equation so that there is some kind of acceptance with his decision. But more particularly, about the economy of about 80% of our people who are in the informal sector and the fact that they live from hand to mouth. And these are people who have been complaining about the impact the lockdown was having on them. So he looked at all of these issues and the fact that we've done over 60,000 testing. We've recorded 1,045 positive cases. The recovery rate is about 99. We are also observing people who are on admission. And the fact that we also have 18,000 samples, test results to come in. So they have looked at the shape of the virus and how it spread. They appear to have a handle on it. So that was the reason why government decided to, lift the lockdown on these areas, more particularly to look at the economy, which from the analysis of some experts is actually bleeding at this particular moment. The GMA will not directly speak to us on whether or not they are in favor or against the government decision to unlock these areas. All they said was that the president has spoken. They, as an association, they've already backed it and they'll continue to back it until the pandemic is out of the country. Okay. Now, another group that met with the president today was the Trade Union Congress. And by the Trade Union Congress, I believe that the GPRTU is a part of the Trade Union Congress, right? Okay, I said that because I have a question again, and I'll ask you based on the questions that people are sending. This one says the trotros have already started packing the passengers. What happened to social distancing? They should be checked. What is the TUC's position? So this did not come up directly as a question regarding the trotro and then the commercial drivers. But the TUC as a body, according to Mr. Yalba, what they've done is to conduct a research or a study into the economic impacts of the lockdown. And even though the results is yet to be 100% ready for publication, what they've seen so far is quite devastating, especially for businesses and for people who have jobs. According to thousands of people, within these 3 weeks that the country experienced a lockdown, thousands have lost their jobs. Businesses have collapsed. So they were happy with the government decision to unlock these areas, and that they will get their businesses to now begin to run. But they are more particular in looking at what government have for them in terms of package to salvage people whose businesses have gone under, and then to ensure that people who have lost their jobs are in a way, compensated, or the economy is such that it will be able to retool itself for the jobs that have been lost to be, reactivated.
All right, Elton, thank you very much. And I believe that we'll get more from this meeting as we go along. Elton Brove is Presidential Affairs Correspondent here, joining us from the Jubilee House, where he's been monitoring meetings between President Akufo-Addo, the Ghana, the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, as well as the Ghana Medical Association. We're hearing that the Ghana Medical Association did have some concerns. Have those concerns been addressed by the presidency? They say they support the president's decision. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to the GMA themselves so we can get a better understanding of what exactly is happening. But let's take a look at more of your thoughts that you're sharing with us. In the meantime, go on Twitter, follow the poll and be a part of it. This one says, please, I want to hear about what happened to the infected man who escaped from Tamale. He's been arrested. He's been arrested by the police, I think the same day or the day after he was arrested. Zachariah sent this from the northern region. This one says, please, I think our destiny is in our own hands. You can stay home or you can go and die. Francis from Takrady. Francis, well, you won't die. Hopefully you won't. Most people, a lot more people have recovered. More people have recovered than those who have died and those who have got into critical condition. This one says, there's a very long message. I'm not sure I'll be able to read everything. But you say, our leaders are thinking of the next elections, not the next generation. This is just a way to find a way for the Electoral Commission to conduct the new register. Politicians will always have their way, and we as citizens will have our say. What a logic. When it was 6, there was a ban on all public gatherings. 53 cases locked down. 1,042 lockdown lifted. Wow, have we given up on God so soon? No comment. This is from HE on Upper West cerebrospinal meningitis, which has recorded over 200 cases. It's from Ghazi Ibn Idris from Tamale, who sends this one in. Thank you very much for sending this message in. I'm going to take a look very shortly at the poll on Twitter and how it is going. This one is coming from John. John says, I think the pressure on President Akufo-Addo is too much. We now as president should be wise to protect ourselves. Thank you for sending your message as well. This is from Zebila by Emmanuel Spam. Emmanuel says, when the president unlock you, you can lock yourself back. Lock what has been, o'clock. Emmanuel, thank you for that message. Interesting way you put it. This one, you don't add your name, you're a regular texter. Says, how many Ghanaians are educated with the ability to think through issues, to appreciate the decision of the president? Well, you may underestimate people, but people do understand some of these things. We'll get on Twitter shortly. Ustaz Abdul Karim is sending this from Saboba. He says, the president took the right decision to lift the lockdown. If you know you are still scared, please stay at home. Hashtag spread calm and not fear. Thank you for your message. I'm tempted to believe that government now has a better understanding on the impact of poverty and will now channel its attention there. Politicians should be well informed now about the legitimate issues which demand serious attention. I know government's decision was influenced by feeding the poor and vulnerable, even though it is based on science, as he says. So really, the reactions have been mixed, as we indicated earlier. Some of you think it has everything to do with politics. It has everything to do with, in your thoughts, governments trying to get the Electoral Commission to go on with the register. Some of you think that this is the best decision we have taken and that individuals should take responsibility but for protecting themselves by staying at home if they have no business business at all being outside. Some of you are also seeing the impact you say it is having on businesses. Like Elton said, TUC believe this is a good thing. And I've read this message already that says the trotros are already parking. Please, the president indicated that if you are a public transport operator, that you would adhere to the earlier directives. You can't take more than 4, for example, if that's what you used to take. You're supposed to take less than that, 3 or 2. You can't take more than that. If you are doing so, you are breaching the presidential directives, and you ought to be careful about it. This one is asking a question. I'm not sure I have it. Michelle Hammond, you say you want to know if all types of courts, including criminal and civil cases, will resume as usual. We'll get some clarification from our court correspondent and let you know. So let's take a look also at some of the Facebook messages that have been coming in. This one is from Efo Michael Tagbo. Says the ban has been lifted to pave way for MPP primaries and the EC new voter register compilation, I think. Well, Mr. Tagbo, what I can add to that is that the president indicated that there is still a ban. The ban on public gatherings is still in place. So political rallies, political meetings, that bring a lot of people together, are also disallowed. So the NPP primaries, as we know, has been suspended, will fit into the groups that are not supposed to be meeting under this directives by the president. Good Luck Sterling is sending this one. He says, more cases are being recorded and restrictions lifted. Won't the cases be worse? Will there not be transfer of the virus to the clean regions? That's a question you're asking. I'm sorry, I don't have the answer, but certainly those who ought to answer, I'm sure, have seen your message. Al-Hassan Salifu says, the president lifted the restriction just because of the voter ID registration. Oh, Mother Ghana. And there's also a question here that says, Inusa Fuseni says, why the rush to lift the ban? Why the rush to lifting of the ban? I think it is premature to lift it. Now we are recording higher cases and you lift the ban. Why? So this is a very this is a theme that's running through most of the messages that we're receiving. You're wondering why we're having so many cases, yet we're having to lift the ban. This one is asking, please, if someone wants to access some of the money dedicated to help businesses, how can the person access it? Peter, you sent this question from Dodo. I think that the minister answered it yesterday. I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I think he indicated that the money, the 600,000, I think that's been dedicated to this, will be available in a couple of months. I think a month or 2 from now. Do check on our YouTube link. We have the video running on our YouTube link from lockdown yesterday. You can check on our YouTube link and have a look at it as well. But I think the money, they said, will be available for people to start applying towards it in a month or 2. Government, right, you're asking about NAPCO, but I don't really have answers for NAPCO questions. This one says, I think interregional movement lockdown must be introduced as soon as possible to avoid the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. You don't add your name, you only say you are Inspector. Inspector, you're texting from Axim. Thank you for your message as well. This one says, Nana made a beautiful decision on lifting the lockdown ban yesterday. It is from Ken Silas, who is texting from Dunkwa on Ofen. Ken, thank you for your message as well. Alvin is texting from Afienya, says, what does it mean for residents in the outskirts of major cities? Will the easing of the lockdown be in our favor? Well, it's really up to you. The fact that you should not necessarily, you shouldn't find yourself among groups, among, masses of people when you really don't have a business out there. But if you have business to do, certainly the way has been paved for you to go ahead and have it done. This one says, we are more exposed to the virus than before. The president should reconsider his decision for opening the lockdown. The president did a good job by lifting the lockdown. The president did it in consultation with stakeholders. This is coming from Wofinga there. Well, these are some of the messages you're sending through. We'll do more of that as we go along, because I do have a whole lot of them that I need to keep going through to bring